I have always enjoyed, this is from Sheepy Shy Guy, I have always enjoyed your advocacy and reporting on free speech in the US. With that said, how do you see government censorship coming to an end? It seems very difficult when the entity committing the act does not have to admit anything they have done, and the media that favors the censorship ideology runs cover. I mean, this is why I have become increasingly hostile to the Democratic Party. I've always been a critic of the Democratic Party. You know, going back to my earliest days when I began writing about politics. And in particular at the time, I thought it was because they wanted to do the right thing, but just didn't have the political courage, that kind of naive mentality that was very popular among liberal blogs at the time. And liberal blogs were what kind of influenced me to start writing, that I was consuming a lot of back in 2002 and 3 and 4. And I very quickly saw that that was not the case, that in fact, this claim that, oh, they wanted to do the right thing, but just couldn't get enough votes, they always failed by a couple votes, was total theater. And I got very cynical about the Democratic Party quickly, so I've always been a critic of the Democratic Party, but I've never been as hostile to and disgusted by the Democratic Party as I am now. And one of the reasons is because of not the fact that they're supportive of things like the censorship regime and the US security state and the endless war machine, but the fact that they are with unanimity. That's the part that sickens me the most. So you don't have a single member of Congress, not even a member of the squad, not an AOC or Ilhan Omar or Cori Bush or Ayanna Pressley, saying, look, I don't like a lot of this speech any more than you do, but I don't want the CIA and big tech censoring and determining the limits of political speech in the United States. They're completely bereft of any dissent at all, the Democratic Party is, and that includes this left wing of the Democratic Party that as recently as 2016, when Bernie was running against Hillary Clinton, defined itself in opposition to the Democratic Party. And it is amazing how, because Bernie and AOC became people who decided to become insiders in the Democratic Party and eliminate all space for dissent from the left of the Democrats, that almost entirely disappeared. And there is no such thing as a political movement that can succeed if it's linked only to one political party or one political ideology. You need bipartisan or trans-ideological support for it. It needs to be something that is coming from this kind of majoritarian sentiment, especially when it comes to trying to limit state power. And so if you only have Republicans, and only a certain wing of the Republican Party, standing up objecting to all of this, to the fact that the CIA, the FBI, Homeland Security really are controlling the outer limits of political debate over the internet and decreeing what is true and false in a way that is binding and determinative of what we can say. And then you have the Democratic Party with no space within it at all to allow any prominent member of it to stand up and say, this is objectionable and we disagree with this and we want this to end. It ensures essentially that it will continue. It protects and shields it. And the fact that they are now becoming explicit defenders of it, I mean, that's one of the reasons I watch these hearings. You see and learn so much when you actually watch those hearings, because that's when the real conversations happen. I mean, there's still an awareness, the cameras are on and there's still a political component to it, but you really get a much better sense of what the real dynamics of power and the real coalitions are happening inside the US Congress and in the broader political Washington framework. To now watch not a handful, but most Democrats explicitly stand up and defend the US security state as being benevolent and so well-intentioned that we want them to have this power, and trying to demonize and malign and even criminalize criticism of the US security state in general, or the censorship regime in particular, on the grounds that it dangerously erodes trust and faith in government and therefore should be considered a national security threat, is something that is irredeemably malignant to me, like malevolent to me. And I don't think there's much of a prospect to ending this politically as long as that continues to be true of the Democratic Party, which is one of the reasons I spend so much time criticizing and attacking it, because they deserve it. Now, one possible avenue is what we saw from this federal court judge, which is that there can be a constitutional ruling that this is the kind of thing the First Amendment is designed to prevent. I've been saying this for years now, that I thought the US government was crossing that bantam books line that says that the First Amendment doesn't just prohibit direct censorship, but also attempts to coerce and pressure private actors to censor for them. And I'm so glad that finally there was a test case and the federal judge that ruled that in fact that line has been radically crossed, and now this behavior is enjoined. Obviously, it will go to an appellate court, and I hope it ends up in the Supreme Court, where I think there is a chance that they would rule it unconstitutional. Although I think if you look at the disposition of people like John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh and even Neil Gorsuch, they tend to be very protective of establishment prerogatives. They're not really radicals in any way, especially Roberts and Kavanaugh. And I'm not at all confident that a majority of the court would rule in the way that lower court judge ruled. I could easily see them saying it's the prerogative of the executive branch to provide input to these companies about what material they think is dangerous and ought to be removed, especially if it's not accompanied by compulsion. I could see a majority of the court saying that, but I think it's possible a majority of the court could rule in the opposite way as well. So that is one possible path to putting at least some limits on this. But in reality, these things happen politically. And I think 6 years ago, there would have been space in the Democratic Party for a lot of members of the Democratic Party and a lot of the followers of the Democratic Party to unite with the anti-establishment sectors of the right of the Republican Party, standing up in opposition to this in a meaningful way. But that space has been eliminated because the people who branded themselves as dissidents to the Democratic Party, as opponents of the Democratic Party from within, are all now completely captive to the Democratic Party establishment. And the space for questioning anything they do at all, let alone in this area, is almost entirely gone, which is the reason I harbor so much contempt for them, because the effects are really harmful in exactly the way I just described. The clip you just watched is from the live after show we do on Locals, exclusively for our local subscribers. The live after show airs every Tuesday and Thursday nights immediately following our live system update show on Rumble, which is freely available to everyone. To join our Locals community, simply click the join button under each video on our Rumble page or at the link below. That not only entitles you to exclusive access to our after show, where we take your questions, respond to your critiques and feedback, and hear suggestions for issues we should cover and people we should interview, but also to the transcripts for each show that we produce, as well as the exclusive written content we publish there. Enjoy.